2024 at? What's the goal for 2025? Do you have a plan to get there?
My name is Alicia Brown. I help homeschooling parents turn their children into exceptional writers.
The difference between a $200,000 business and a $2 million business, a $200,000 business is going to be all Alicia still doing most of the work. A $2 million business, who are the people and the systems I need to get in place so that instead of us going from 50 students to 160 students, we can go to 1,600 students.
I'm limited with what I can do. My name is Alicia Brown, and I'm the owner of Write with Mrs. Brown, LLC. I help homeschooling parents turn their children into exceptional writers using a 3CR approach. And the 3Cs are, I make sure that parents and students have community, they have curriculum that is mastery based, they have coaching that leads them to the R, which is getting the results that they came for and hopefully more than they came for.
For the sake of the community, right? Why don't we go over kind of like the core things you sell? So the main things you sell and like how much they're priced at.
So the main things I sell right now would be group classes that are full year writing classes and private tutoring. I just launched a digital power words course for 3rd through 5th graders. So that's very, very new. But I'd like to pivot into that. And so I can't say I would list that, but that's where I'd like to pivot a little bit more. For my group classes, I teach 30-week group classes. So they're 2 semesters for 15 weeks. And they are at $1,000 right now for those group classes. They come with 1 week or once a week meetings, and then they have a once a week study hall that the students can come to. My private tutoring is currently priced at $100 an hour for one-on-one with 1 student and $125 with like a sibling pair. So those are my current prices at the moment. And my digital course is $247 for the year.
And then do you have team? Like, are you fulfilling all this yourself?
I am fulfilling all of it myself. And I have one Upwork student. She's a recent graduate who grades for me.
What was the revenue? Would you end 2024 at? And what's the goal for 2025?
Right. So 2024, my total net income was 46,661. And total liabilities and equity will be 54,483. That was 2023, sorry. And then 2024, my net income was 50,000. I'm learning to learn my numbers just so that you know. Okay. 50,140. My gross profit was 65 last year, 2024. And then my total liabilities and equity are at 93,151.
And what's the goal for 2025?
Yeah, goal, sorry. 200,000 minimum gross profit.
Do you have a plan to get there?
I'm working on my plan to get there. What I know will not work is continuing to teach all of my classes simply live, because that's not a scalable model. So the thing that I have learned is it's not scalable. So what I'm trying to do, I started investing in Facebook ads back in July-ish of 2024. So I've grown my email list to about how many? It's like 5,300. I had about 600 or 700 at the time. So that worked, but conversions have been low. So one of my goals is to pivot into more digital products, digital courses, to increase my prices for my full year classes and to stop leaving money on the table. I could leverage my other gifts. I write songs, I create games, I write explainer videos, thinking about creating my own writing framework, because the issue I'm running into is all of my business is basically built on somebody else's property. I need to increase my prices. I need to have a scalable model. I'm limited with what I can do. I can only teach their curriculum live. I cannot pre-record anything. So one of the things that I was kicking around is how can I monetize, like what part of me is the most monetizable that is my own intellectual property. So I've been in the homeschooling community for like a lot of years, since my, I don't know, about 15 years. So I have a lot of families that I already have met, and so that's how I got a lot of my clients direct. But then some families will find me on YouTube or Instagram and come to me that
The
way.
ads that you run, like what do you run those ads to? You said you built your list by using Facebook ads, but are you sending them just to join the list, join the newsletter, join the lead magnet, buy something? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I have a Power Words poster, like a set of posters that they get for free. It was really to practice or test this digital product
Yeah.
that I wanted to offer. I didn't have the digital product made at the time I started running ads, to be honest with you. I had the lead magnet to give them these power words, and then I built the course. I didn't finish the course until November. And so it goes to posters. Those posters go to a tripwire to buy a workbook. And then in November, I was offering the Power Words course. So that's what the I guess their destination is from the Facebook ad.
And let me my last question about ads. How much you spend? How much do you spend on ads on average, like per month?
Yes, $10 a day. So
It's like 300 a
about
month.
$300, $310 a month. Yeah.
The group and the one-on-one, because the digital is something we starting, but it ain't really generating money yet.
Yeah.
So out of the group and the one-on-one, what percentage would you say out of your 100% of revenue, like what percent is group versus what percent is one-on-one?
Yeah. So about 80% of that revenue comes from group classes.
Okay. All right. So, um, and let me see. And we said we did 65K last
In
year, right?
2024.
Yep. So last year in 2024, about 52,000 of that 65 came from group, and 13 came from one-on-one. All right. When you do group coaching, how many people in the class?
I usually try to cap at 10.
And then how much do they pay each?
So we'll just say the average is about $1,000. My younger classes
Oh,
is
that's $1,000. Yeah.
like $900. And then I did have one class that I taught. It was a public speaking class that was 13 weeks that I undercharged at 390.
Okay. Now, my other thing is you talked about the curriculum and being, having limitations because you use somebody else's curriculums. What's the barriers to you creating your own curriculum?
The barriers are,
Yeah. Like what's
well, it
stopping
would
you?
just be, I would say, time. So time is a barrier, getting that done. So trying to create the curriculum and fulfill at the same time. So that would be a little bit of an issue. Um, time and maybe a little bit of research. So not a ton of barriers with me creating my own curriculum, but time and research.
Okay. But okay, so let's say that. So let's say when you create your own curriculum, like what does it look like then? Like in your estimation. So let's say we've been working on it. Let's say March the 1st, you got your own curriculum done. And then what does it look like? You make more, you keep more, like what's the outcome of it?
So here's what I'm kicking around. So again, one of the things that I like about what I use is they have something for like all the ages. So one of my questions is that I've been kicking around is, do I need to niche? Because I teach from third grade all the way to 12th grade. So I teach elementary through high school. So should I niche down? One of the ideas I thought about was an essay accelerator course. And sometimes I'm getting a lot of parents who are calling me who aren't homeschooled, who don't have homeschooling students, but they have students in public school or private school, but their students aren't getting enough writing. So they don't want to be in a 30-week course, but they do want their kids to write. They need to know how to write a literary analysis essay or a narrative essay, a persuasive essay, and then an expository essay. So the essay accelerator course idea that I had was I would create um, a course for each type of essay that teaches your child in about 8 lessons how to write a 5 paragraph essay. So that was my idea. And then creating those accelerator courses at different levels. So if you have an elementary school student, they're not writing an essay at the same level, but they still need to know how to write a narrative essay. So creating an essay accelerator course at 3 levels: elementary, middle school, high school. that would be digital, that they would do that, be able to, almost like TSP, you would go and be able to watch the courses, do the work. So I kicked around that idea. I kicked around the idea of niching all the way down to a course where it is just, I have, by the way, I'm a mom of 4 kids. They are 20, 18, 17, 15. I'm in Common App, FAFSA, money for college, doing all the Excel reports, trying to all that. And so, and my before homeschooling life was, I was a human resources recruiter, mostly in financial services. So I was like, well, maybe I should niche very narrow and do a scholarship. It's like a scholarship cohort. So basically 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, where the first 2 weeks we're sitting down and you as a student, you're understanding who you are. You're building basically your professional brand as a young person, your volunteer experience, things of that nature. And then the goal is at the end of the 8 weeks, you are applying for 1 scholarship per week. So utilizing what I know about writing, but to very, very narrowly focus into just that. And so that is one thing that I could do and just become an expert in that piece. Mm-hmm. Because I could combine a lot of my the other aspects of who I am and the other resources that I had that I could leverage. Like I have family who are in academic spaces and things of that nature. So my concern about that is what I have right now is relatively stable, and I have a good customer base and a good reputation. And I have had students who have had great results, but should I niche that narrow? And then the other thing is, here's my other thing is like, I love writing songs. I do it anyway. Like if my kids don't know their prepositions, I wrote a preposition song. So are there ways to, and that's easy for me to do. Like I can crank out a song a day. I could crank out 5 videos a day that are like explainer videos. So are there ways I am missing money or leaving money on the table with those skill sets? Because I'm sitting here with the Mac, and like I bought the Mac so I could write songs. Yeah. So I have the things, and I am a songwriter. So I have that gift that you give me the content, I can create a beat that is not like boring. It was like you would listen to the song even if it wasn't telling you how to memorize your preposition. So I'll leave that with you. That's really what I'm kicking around to say, should I niche that narrowly and pivot that narrowly? Yeah. Or would you keep it a little bit more broad?
Again, congratulations on doing it full time. I think you have everything you need to get to the 200K and beyond, right? And I would think about the beyond piece. And I would go ahead and start, as you start making these shifts, because to get to 200K from 65, right, it's probably going to require you to do some different things than you've done to get to this point. But as you build into 200K, I want you to start thinking about what it's going to look like to build beyond that, right? And that's for everybody listening too, as y'all are listening, you should be learning at the same time. So make sure everybody listening got paper and pen out, y'all taking notes. And also make sure you go into the school group and drop your house from this as we start going in the main group already. You have one more thing, Alicia?
I was going to say, the one thing I want to say is I'm not risk averse. And I started this again, kind of like I was actively homeschooling my kids. So I was like, oh, let me take what I've been doing in community and do it on the side. So I am completely open to, I don't want to say blowing up my business, but like I'm completely open to whatever you suggest, and I'm not risk averse.
Cool. Excellent. My favorite kind of people. All right. That's perfect. I always tell people all the time, they say, well, what's the difference between businesses that kind of stay or to move slow and move fast? And that's what I tell them, right? Like the companies I work with that move the fastest and that are the biggest, they execute at a very high level and they have a tolerance for risk. And not saying that they like gonna lose everything and the kids gonna be on the street,
Right.
but you know
Like
what I'm saying.
I did.
But
You heard me. I have 4 kids, and they're in
I got
college.
you. I
So
know.
yeah.
I got four too, so I get it. I get it. Right. But like you said, they willing to they willing to do some things, right? Let me mute somebody. Unmute. Let me give me one. I'm gonna mute everybody, then unmute you. Give me 1 second, Bob. Let me do that, and then okay, you should get a request to unmute again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's a few things you said. Well, it's a lot of things you said, right? But it's a few things I want to kind of get back to and dive into it. One, like just doing things as is, right? And this is just for everybody. Doing like the first thing I say is like, hey, if we did everything the way it was, could we hit the goal just by increasing? And if you increase, that means, hey, if you said, hey, I wanted to get to 200K, you did 52,000 this year in group, right? Which is where the majority of your money came from. I mean, you would have to now do 160K in group, which means you'd have to touch, right? Like a lot more kids than you're currently touching. And the way you touch them, I don't even know, do you even have the bandwidth to touch that many?
I would have to change the way I do it. Like I teach like this, and so that's why I keep it at 10. So the only way I could touch more kids if I do it like webinar style, and then crank up the entertainment aspect of like it's still hard work because you're still gonna write in my class. Like it's not about playing. We're writing well. But I would just I was talking to my daughter today, my 18-year-old, and she was like, you're fun enough to watch and engage in the chat. Like you don't necessarily have to have all the kids on the screen. So if I did the same thing, I would do it webinar style. I would need to still increase the price because I would still probably have somebody grade because that takes way too much of my time and I could hire a college student.
Yeah.
So instead of 10, I could probably manage about 25 total in a webinar style to still keep it personal because I am about personal. Like I do value that everyone feels seen. So I like to say my kids' names and all of that. So that's really important for me to make sure that it still remains personal. I don't think I could be too personal at above 25. So yeah, that would be the change I would make to how I fulfilled my classes. And then I could still do maybe the study hall like this, where they can see me, they can see each other, we can actually talk and play and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a way to do the same thing, but adjust it a bit.
All right. So I got a few things and I'm kind of rapid fire, but you're ready to write them down so we can move. So the one thing I like to think about is, and with the things we talk about, you need to move fast around them because you're in a field that is in the path of disruption, right? And AI has already started disrupting it, or it's going to keep disrupting it. So I'm not even. I know some of the stuff you're like, hey, I'm creating this, digital, that. Yeah, it's cool, but if you built a whole business around that, like that whole business would probably be disrupted or gone, or you wouldn't be able to do what you do probably a year or two from now because all the things that you create, somebody just gonna go on Chat GPT and say, hey, my kid is this, my kid is that, make me this, boom, 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 like that, and then it's gonna be made, right? And I don't even know if you've seen when they did a rollout and they did like a live launch of updates from last year with Chat GPT. I had a video, I was sharing it in some of my pop-up trainings, but did you see the video of Chat GPT tutoring?
I did not.
Yeah, it was a video where, I don't know, let me know in the chat if anybody saw this. Oh my goodness, let me see if I got it. If I got it, this would be perfect to play for y'all. But basically, I hope I got this. But basically, they were doing a demo, and a child was on their tablet doing math, and they needed help, and it was like geometry or something. And so Chat GPT was talking back to him, the OpenAI platform, like talking back to him, and it was saying, all right, well, like draw this type of triangle. And it was drawing it, and it was like, nah, that's not the right type. That's this type. So then do this, right? Like one is like you're in the path of like disruption. So I want to make sure you don't build a new thing, put everything into the new thing, and then a year later, like the new thing come and get just boom, blown down, destroyed, where people aren't willing to pay for it because for $20 a month, access into some AI tool, they can get, specifically to it. So when I think about like, hey, where AI disruption is going and where is it not going and what's the opportunity, what I think about is some of the stuff you do, right? Like live interaction, engagement, where like where your daughter say, hey, like you so personable and you so good, you can keep them engaged and keep them excited. Like that's going to be your anti AI, not just like a straight course or not like printables or downloadables or any of that stuff. Like you are the anti AI, and not just you, because the other difference for everybody listening, the difference between a $200,000 business and a $2 million business, right? A $200,000 business is going to be all Alicia still doing most of the work. A $2 million business, right, is like, hey, we create it and we think about it from the beginning. We're like, hey, who are the people and the systems I need to get in place so that instead of us going from 52 students to 160 students, we can go to 1,600 students, for example. And the only way, again, we can do that is if we got the proper people in place and the proper systems in place so that, hey, now you might be overseeing the curriculum. Now you might be checking in to make sure that what's being taught meets your standards. But it's people that are seeing the kids, working with the kids all different time of day and night that are independent of you, and it still doesn't, you're doing your thing with your family, you're doing your thing with, and engaging with, you might love doing it, so you still could engage with it as much or as little as you don't want to do. Because even me, like I'm a trainer and a teacher at heart. So even though, in the business, like team be trying to get me to do other stuff, I'm like, nah, this part right here is what I love. And I'm like, the reason I deal with all the other crap is because I do this part that I love. And that's what give me the ability to deal with all the stuff I don't like, is doing the thing I do. So you might say, hey, I still want to get in there and work with the kids and do some things, but I want you to start to put that cap on to say, hey, you know what? What does this not look like just as a $200,000 company? What does it look like as a $2 million company? And then how can I back up from that? Which doesn't mean that, hey, I'm going to go out right now and I'm going to hire 20 people and this, and this. But it does mean that what I'm going to build right now, I'm going to build it with the infrastructure to go big. So that as I'm adding, I don't have to, what I don't want you to do, and this is what most people don't even think that big. Most people get caught around the mark you at now, and they're not even thinking of 200. They might get like a little bit bigger than 80 or 90, but then they get stuck because the business is not ever built or structured to go to 200. And then even they get to 200, they got to deploy and destroy the business and start back over from scratch to build $1 million business. So what I want you to do is, again, think from how we can build 2 million from the beginning, and then we back our way out of that so that we got a straight path that's going to lead you straight into it, where all you got to do is just add different components of the business, different people into the business. You got like the platform that work, so then you just add more coaches and more trainers and tutors, right, to just go wider doing the same platform and thing that you got. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say, and let me look, because I really want to show you. Oh, man, I want to show you this. And if I can pull it up on my screen, I can show it to everybody easier than I could on YouTube. So the other thing I want to talk about and look at is it's a lot you can do. People that can do a lot, that's the curse. It's like much easier. It's much easier people that can't do a lot. It's excellent when somebody can only do one thing because they ain't got all them options, Alicia, and they're not sitting there thinking like, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do that, right? So whatever you do, it has to all lead to what the main thing is. So if we say, hey, you know what? The main thing is, we want to do more group coaching. Whatever size you say is the size, you're the expert, so I'm leaning on you. But if you say, I want to do more group coaching with 10 kids, maybe it's 15 right in the middle or something like that. But I want to do more with that, and I want to have more classes, and I want to have, be able to just fill those classes up with kids, right? And have like an unlimited supply of kids coming in. And I want to be able to, train other tutors in my methodology so that we can serve these kids at the highest level possible, at the level that they deserve to be served at. That might be the thing, but then anything else that you do has to feed into that. So that doesn't mean, hey, I can't do the music, but if I do the music, I'm doing the music just as content for lead generation to get people into the class, not as a separate thing.
Right.
So that's what I want you to think about, like anything you do, right? Like once we say, all right, like what's the end goal? Anything you do has to lead to the end goal. If it don't lead to the end goal and the mission that provides, then we got to put it on the side. And maybe at another time, maybe at another date, maybe at a later period, we can come back and pick it up. But for now, we got a segment and say, what's like, keep the main thing, what's most important, and how can we move forward with like keeping, working on the main thing and staying focused on that. When I think about the main thing, what I think about is what's the thing I'm happiest doing and the thing that makes the most money. That's the perfect combination. Because if you get caught doing something that you love doing but it don't make enough, that's gonna stress you the heck out because you got 4 kids. If you get caught doing something that makes a lot of money but you're not passionate about it, then at a certain point you can get burnt out. And that's how a lot of people get burnt out because they think the money is enough, but then after a while you're like, yo, like it's literally not. I need something to fill my cup, right? Now I want to, be doing something. And then a lot of people is in some type of education field like you. It's a level of service tied in there too, and give back that y'all have. So you want to make sure you're doing that. So I would say, like, out of those different things you do, which one do you think, based on what you've seen, has the most revenue potential, and you would love doing it and building a company around it?
That's the $1,000,000 question, right? I think the thing that I would love to do and the thing that scares me the most. So the love to do and the things that so what I love and what my families love will be the engagement piece. If I could monetize my music, the thing is I've never done it. So it's like I only know what I've done. I don't know what I haven't done. Does that make sense? So I think I saw a comment. It was I think it was Laura who was talking about possibly a like a licensing deal with schools or with other educational facilities that could utilize the music, the educational music and things of that nature. And I also want to say, I'll say this. When I think about, or when I've been analyzing kind of even how money comes in and the numbers and all of that, like I just want it to be simple too. So if I have one thing, if it's just, if music is the main thing, then like all of that money is easy to track. It's been a little bit tricky numbers wise.
I think out of all the stuff you said, the music doesn't move me the most. Out of all the stuff you said, like the music moves me for lead generation and for getting people in and stuff like that. But it's like a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps, right? It's just my whole thing. It's like a lot of steps. It's like a lot of stuff you can do. It's a lot of steps. The thing that moved me the most is like, hey, what's the biggest pain point somebody has they're willing to pay a lot of money for? And this for everybody, right? Like, what's the thing where like, yo, like people, like this is an issue, right? And like people willing to pay to make that issue go away. And when they willing to make the pay, like that's the pain point piece, right? Like when that pain is so severe, they like I just need somebody that's great at doing this, and I want to pay them. Then we can charge more, and we can make more money with less clients, and we can make more money quickly, right? And again, if we're talking about something where it's like something they need to engage somebody with, then that kind of helps you be AI proof, at least for the near future, as we kind of going in. For the near future, like don't be like here like 5 years now. Like Lamar said for the near future, right? So as we look at it, like I like the idea when you talk about like the scholarship piece, right? Because the scholarship piece, it had like you sold something with a definite outcome. It was like, hey, you know what? It number one doesn't have a pain point. Yeah, it has a pain point because the cost of tuition at college is going up every single year. People can't afford to go to college, right? Like people need to do something. So is it a pain point? Yes, it's a pain point. Number two, right? Do people know it exists? Sometimes people dealing with pain points, people don't know, so you got to educate them. You don't have to educate them. People know that, hey, I can't afford for college. I can't afford to pay my kids, send my kids to college. Even they get the grades, right? I can't come out with the extra money to do the stuff. Even if scholarships are available, but I don't know how to get access to the scholarships and stuff. I've had some scholarship clients that make good money teaching people how to do scholarships, how to get access to scholarships. Plus, what I love, again, is you're not just training and teaching, but you actually got an execution piece where you're like, hey, every week we're going to submit for one. So that's like a specific outcome that where as a parent, if I'm looking at different people, like this person is teaching this person got a course, I can go to Chat GPT and say, hey, tell me everything about scholarships, what I should do, how I submit. But like, it's not the person actually working with them to make sure it gets done. In and around, like I still ain't like sort of almost that's it, but I like the idea of something like that, right? Because hey, we're very specific, we crushing a pain point, and I like to sell stuff. So when I go out and sell it, that's something I can sell. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna position it against, hey, you know what? What's gonna happen is your kid's gonna leave college in a minute, And what's the average college tuition bill right now? Any idea? Anybody know in the chat?
So yeah, 20 to 30,
20,
couple
30 a year.
50s a year out there.
Yeah.
So, and
So
that's
let's say
just,
on the low end, that could easily be 80K. So we talking about, you spending 80K to, six figures plus for your kid to come. So how much worth it would it be worth it for you not to pay 80, but to have them go at low cost to no cost? And then easily now we position two things against each other. All right, I can do this for 10, 15K, right? And would you rather spend 10 to 15K instead of spending 80K? That's like easy, like, hey, would you give me 15 so that you don't have to get them 80? Now we're doing easy math, right? And you got like an easy specific outcome where, again, it's not just them learning, because again, they're gonna be able to type in anything into the AI in a second, learn stuff. Like, and this is for everybody. For a while, right, it's been an information age. What I've been telling people now is like, we're in a too much information age. You know what I mean? Where like information with the internet, we thought we had access to all the information. Now we really got access to all the information. But what we don't have access to is the execution. And that's where you come in, and that's your messaging is like, hey, again, it's not about the information. It's about I actually help you come in and execute on what it is so that you can get it. Because if your kid read that stuff, if you read that stuff, but y'all don't know how to actually properly do it, how to properly submit it, how to properly word it, right? Like if you don't have somebody's eyes on that thing, it doesn't matter. And what I do know, right, by having 4 kids, right, all 3 out of the 4 been in college. We got 1 in high school, the rest either in college or out. What I do know is that them windows close. So you don't have forever.
no, you don't.
Because like that window is closing at all times. So you mess around and you wait, and then guess what? That semester is up on you, quick, fast, in a hurry, right? So again, I ain't got to wait to it, but I like the idea of that one because it serves a specific purpose to a specific audience and around a specific pain point with a specific outcome. And then now we're getting away from a little bit from information to like part of its execution. And I could really sell that around the idea of that.
Yeah, I hear you. I like that. I like that idea as well because it's easily measurable too. Like I can quickly be like, okay, my students have gotten this much in scholarships. So it's also pretty easy to quickly get results and be able to report those results
Exactly.
quantifiably as
Exactly.
opposed to, you know, they love writing or they can, but literacy is still very important as well, even prior to that. But yeah, that was one of the things that I liked about that particular aspect. And just to remove the pain from the parent, like just even the whole idea of like getting on your student to be like, did you write the scholarship? Did you record the video? Did you meet the deadline? Did you get it done? And so being that support to the parent as well, because I am in that space. And so I know how that feels. And even my kids, my kids they're making big decisions right now. So just having even a whole cohort of students kind of like in this same kind of space where they're encouraging each other and like, hey, did you hear about this scholarship? Did you hear about this? And yeah, absolutely. And my music can be my hobby. Yes.
So in all of that, what I would say is we got to move fast. Now, the other part of it, when you was talking about a curriculum and things like this is how I think. Because I think like, I just want to get to the millions as fast as possible, and I can't be in the minutia, right? Because minutia is where it slows you down, and minutia is where you don't make money at. So if you say, hey, Lamar, I can make more money, I can, have more flexibility, I can do more things with a curriculum, then automatically I say, well, let's get the curriculum out and done as soon as possible. So to me, I automatically think there's a few different ways to do it. With me never making curriculum before, I automatically think there's a few ways to do it. Number one, I would say, all right, if you're going to do it, it got to be a way you start to steal time to create it and do it. Or else, as you probably know, right, 2025 will turn to 2027, then we're looking to be 2029, and you still won't have a curriculum, right? So what do we do? So one way, right, either I'll give you a few ways around that, around time control. One way is that, hey, how long do you think it would actually take you to create a curriculum?
For the scholarship course,
No, just like in general, for what you were talking about before, like initially.
Yeah, probably a good like 2 months of focus time.
And 2 months of focus, like how many? Is that like an hour to a day? Is that like all day working on it? Like what does that look like?
I wouldn't say I would be all day working on it, but I would say a good 2 or 3 hours a day working on it.
All right. So if it's going to take 2 or 3 hours a day, so let's say big search. Let's say 3 hours, right? 5 days a week, 15 hours times 8 weeks. So that's like 120 hours. So
Right.
what
And
we
that
say,
would
hey,
be for like one of those, like if we're just using the essay accelerator thing, that'll be for one
like
to get
one
it
specific
from
thing.
idea to all the assets to up and running and able to be out in the world with all the lead magnets and Facebook ads and all of that. Yes.
Yeah. So when I look at stuff, right, what I always think about is like, how can I get to market as fast as possible? So
Okay.
one thing I can say, hey, you know what? It's going to take 120 hours to do this. Well, if worst case scenario, I'm just like, I just got to get moving on it. And if I don't have 3 hours a day, can I steal an hour a day so I can at least get moving? Now, this is not what I really do, but I'm gonna tell you, like in general, like the worst case scenario, like just to get moving, I'd be like, hey, can I steal an hour a day, right? Can I, get up 30 minutes early and stay up 30 minutes later or something? Just steal time if there's no possible time that I have outside of that anyway. Then I try to compress bigger chunks of time, and I would say, hey, you know what? Like, do I got a week of vacation? Can I take a week of vacation, do a staycation, and then just like plow through in 8 hours, 10 hours a day for that week, move it through. Because then in the course of one week, if I can do 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday, then that's 50 hours. That's like a 50-hour chunk I got done, and I moved the ball like way down the field. So is there some ways I can steal time from me? Like even me, like next week as I finalize, we got game plan in 2 weeks. Everybody's come to game plan. If you don't know, I'll drop the link down the chat. Game plan is we do 2 conferences a year. Just the very last one we doing of this type game plan. We do it every January. I'll drop that in the chat. But we got game plan coming up in a few weeks here in Atlanta. So when we do game plan the week before, I'm just working on my content and delivery of my content. So I literally just take like a week off and go check into a hotel. So just like nothing. I'm just like blinders on, right? You know, wife not there, my kids not there, my I ain't watching TV, like all the comforts of home. Now being comfortable hotels, I ain't gonna lie, like that part's comfortable, but it still ain't as many distractions as I got from
Right.
home, right? And I can like just get locked in, but I'm basically stealing back my time so I can get laser focused on the thing I want to do. My first book that I wanted to write, I had to do the same thing because it wasn't happening, and I was working with all, but I couldn't get her the stuff, right? So to get the stuff, I literally had to check into a hotel for 72 hours so I could just get laser focused on moving through all the parts I had to do. So stealing that time back and making it happen. Now that's the worst and the slowest way, but I just want to put out there as an option for you and everybody else listening. For the people who say, like, I don't have no time, no resource, no nothing, well, steal your own time back and make it happen so at least you're moving towards it. Yep, Heidi said, all roads lead to game plan. Yes, indeed. My second thing I would look at, right, and it'd be between option 2 and 3 is more like what I would do. My second thing is like, is it a curriculum out there I could white label, or even if I white label, if I don't use that specific curriculum all the way, like I use it as a base to build mine off of, so I'm not starting from square one. You know what I mean? And if anybody don't know what I'm talking about is white label rights. People like that create things and then they basically give you the license to go and use them and sell it and all that stuff. But like once you buy it, you just own it. So I would say, hey, you know what? Again, like, can I find something where that's the base and then I can build it, I can tweak it, I can specialize it, I can put my juice on it. But if it's going to take me 120 total hours, getting that white label piece might have moved me 80 hours into it already. So I only got 40 hours to actually customize it, make it mine, and then move on. Then the third option is what I normally do, and I normally just pay somebody, right? So now I can still infuse my stuff. I can, give my methodology. I can give my information. I might do video. I might do audio, whatever. But if you can dump that stuff down, like I said, video, audio, whatever it is, they could, like however you get your thoughts out to them. And if it's somebody that does this all the time, they'll have a framework to actually get your thoughts out from you. Then guess what? In the daytime, while you tutoring, they working. And at the end of that day, like you got to update, or end of that week, you got to update on the curriculum, and the curriculum is moving steadily. And then all they doing is checking in with you to say, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Hey, what about the next part? Hey, take a look at this. Is this kind of what you were thinking? Hey, give me feedback on what it is. So whenever I build something, like rarely, if it's something that's going to take a lot of time, like rarely do I build it for time, because what I need is I want to compress time, right? Like how can I use the least amount of time as possible in my time? How can I leverage other people's time so I can get it to market as fast as possible? You look like you're thinking. What you do? Tell me. You do it.
No,
You
I
your
like
voice
that.
going.
Oh, one of the things, one of the opportunities is leveraging credit, which I haven't done. I have a credit card, but I have
Yep.
one of the reasons I haven't leveraged credit is because I want to be really solid on my core offer. So I didn't want to get money and spend money, and then that's not the thing I needed to have spent money on.
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking I like the way this is going. My question is, I do like number 3 a lot, and number 2 a lot. That makes more sense. It's kind of 10x versus over 2x kind of thinking, which I'm trying to move my brain to that. um the other thing I was thinking is you always talk about monthly recurring revenue. So how would you build the pricing model for, let's use a scholarship, to build a pricing model that would be both scalable? Yeah, I'll just ask it that way.
Yeah, like scholarships is interesting, right? Because no matter what, um, now you can start further downstream. Like I've had some scholarship clients, and they're like, hey, people need to start in middle school and earlier to kind
Mhm.
of get towards it. But there is like a cutoff because they like at a certain, like they don't need scholarships at a certain point no more, right? But you could do it. There's ways you could do it. Like you could build um, a different tiered model. So like if everything was built around scholarships, right? There's some things you could do. Like basically how we have people don't know we got Propel, which Propel is like DIY, go in the portal, like do stuff yourself. We do some group coaching and different pieces onto it. And if anybody doesn't know, we actually just moved Propel to school as well. So y'all like the main TSP school, we got Propel school as well, and we got a discount for the price going on now. Price dropped from 150 a month to 99 a month. So I just dropped that down in the chat. Tamara, welcome to Propel. Just signed up today. Anybody else interested? Click that link. You can go get info. And we picking people from Propel for this every month, or I don't know. I might do it might do it twice a month. I don't know, but we picking people in. Thank you, Evelyn. So that's like kind of do it yourself. Then we got our mastermind, which is like we got coaches, we got experts. Like that will be the level of you having your tutors and all the people that can specifically help them help work through the things. And then with that, right? Like in your case with Propel, I'm leveraging my intellectual property. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of my IP in there. Not all of it's mine, but it's like a lot of my intellectual property that I created. I put in a course format or something, and then people go through, learn it, take a hold of it, etc. With Mastermind, right, I'm leveraging other people's time because that one is like more hands-on, and it's coaches, it's experts, uh, it's one-on-one calls, it's group calls, it's all kind of stuff going on, but stuff going on every single day, but it don't go on with me. It going independent of me. All I do is show up on Wednesday night and I answer people's questions like this from 8 o'clock till we all get sleepy and go to bed. But it's like just every Wednesday, that's all I do, right? So I leverage other people's time at that level. At the top level, that is the one I actually use my time on. But to get access to my time at that level, people pay me $50,000 per year. And then a game plan, we're moving up to $75,000 per year. And that's very exclusive because even to get into it, you got to be doing a million per year in revenue. So even if you say, hey, scholarships, like how do I leverage it? You can make a tiered model because it's different people that need different things, right? And you can say, hey, you know what? Like I got a scholarship academy for the people. Hey, you may not be ready to work directly with us, but you need the information, insight, etc. And for that is X amount, per month. It's MRR, monthly recurring revenue, for everybody that's listening, not aware. And then guess what? All we got to do is say, hey, we want to keep people in. Whenever you got something like that subscription, the focus of it has to be consumption. So even though you're not in there working with everybody directly as you do right now, but you got to make sure the kids are in there using it, because if they're not using it, they're not going to keep it, right? Then you got what's called, you watching with MR, you watching churn all the time. Like what's your churn rate? That's the rate that people are actually leaving. Because a lot of times we focus on people coming in, not necessarily people going out. Then for the people that want more, because you position that like, hey, you know what, like most of the kids gonna need somebody to work hands on with them, like you said. Then we got a place where we helping them submit. Was it once a week, once a month? How many they submitting?
Well, I was thinking of a 10-week program, and they submit for the last 8 weeks, one scholarship a week. So
Yeah, so
8 total by the end of the program.
yeah, so 8 weeks, like that's more hands on. So then you would charge more and be able to do it. And then like you could do a top tier around it, where top tier is like working directly. And I would say working directly with you, because I think that middle tier, you build capacity by having other people that can actually administer your framework. Because then again, we can like, then it becomes more of a marketing game. Like most of the people, if I went to the main TSP group in school, or even the big one, let's say we're going to the big one on Facebook, where if you're on Facebook, get over to school. Like, you can't see half the stuff we post over there. So if I go into the main one, 47,000 people over there, most of them got businesses where it's constraints around the business, and they are the constraint. So they'll never be able to build $1 million, $2 million business like we're talking about, because they can never themselves do $1 million worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like I said, if we like, hey, we got a system like this, then you go into it and you say, hey, you know what? Like, I got a specific framework that I use over the course of this 8 weeks. I can train other people in the frameworks. I'm gonna have NDAs and contracts, all that stuff, so they ain't stealing my stuff. But I can train them in this actual framework so they deliver it, right? And then most of my time is just making sure the people on the team doing what they're supposed to do, and it's me out making sure I got a marketing muscle to get kids and parents into the programs. So this is me, right? Like most of my time is not spent administering my programs. Most of my time is spent marketing my programs, because that's where the money at. And that's for anybody. Like, that should be a nugget. If most of your time is you actually doing the thing, you're not making as much money as you should, because your thing is not getting in front of enough people. The only way it would be is if you got somebody that's out there selling it on your behalf, and 99% of people ain't got nobody selling nothing on their behalf. So we had Mike McAllowitz at our conference a couple years ago. Mike McAllowitz wrote a book called Profit First. He also wrote another book called Clockwork. And he came to us right before he did Clockwork. Dr. Laura, you were there probably. This was 2017 at Le Meridian. So when he came and was talking about the book Clockwork, he talked about something he's called the QBR, right? QBR. What QBR stood for was Queen Bee Role. And he's like, what's the one thing that you do in the business better than anybody else that nobody else can do? That is the one thing that moves the business forward. And what I would say is, for you to make this thing a $2 million business, the one thing that you must do that nobody else does that moves the business forward cannot be tutoring.
Right.
So at a certain point, it's going to have to be a decision. And you might already make a decision, you might make it in the future, but at $200,000, you could be the tutor. At $2 million, you cannot. Now, what I will tell you is that the world is full of amazing educators.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a niche. That right there is a niche where it's not a lack of extremely excellent, heart-centered, brilliant, educated people. And most of them are looking for extra money. So you could get people in there. But where you lend your brilliance, right, again, how you make that thing a $2 million thing, is you elevate up from saying, hey, and again, if that's your heart, you can still do a little piece of it. It's some stuff I do, right? Do a little pieces, that's me. I don't have to be in the groups. I don't know if y'all notice how much I be in the groups. I be grouping in the groups. Like, Reggie, you see me in the groups every day. Hey, Reggie, how often I'm in the groups? Reggie, Reggie, what groups am I in? All of them. Now, I love being in the groups, right? Like, I'm a community person, so I love being in the groups. So I'm gonna do that part, right? Because I just love the parts. You still do the pieces that you love, but you can't do it to a level where it's stopping you from growth. And again, like, this is how we start thinking, like, hey, you know what? This is how we build a $2 million tutoring program, because we got a framework and system that we use. We train that framework and system to other people, and then we get a marketing muscle and a funnel and a process to always be sending leads in. So the main thing we try to do is fill up the class. My main job is not to administer my programs. My main job is to fill up the programs. That should be a nugget for somebody.
I'm trying to copy all the comments so I can read them after.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That's why I told him, like, hey, Derek, make sure you go in the school group and just leave a comment in the school group. That's why I said, like, for y'all, like, if everybody had an aha moment, like, just take a second. I'm going to drop the link again. Go into the school group, leave the stuff there, because she's not going to be able to see all the stuff that y'all are posting That's not gonna happen. She's not gonna see all the stuff y'all posting on Zoom. Or if she do, she gonna miss a nugget that I'm sharing. So just go to that link. It's at the pin at the top of the page and do it. So what's your thoughts, Alicia, what we talked about so far?
No, I think that's well, first of all, the nugget is for sure I have to be the person filling up the program, not the person fulfilling the program, especially if I'm wanting to go beyond 200. And honestly, 200 isn't enough given the impact, because it's not just about making money, it's also the impact that you're able to make, not even just within your family, but I want to write checks for things I value.
Yes.
And 200 is, that's not a big enough check to take care of taking care of me and my family and the things I value. So I like that. I'm actually thinking that I need to make that pivot out of my current business, like let the current business finance the new idea.
Right.
And those families they have young kids, so they would be able to be a base for this newer idea, and it's a place where their older students can go. So I really like that. And right now my brain is just turning on who I know and who I can, like, my human assets that I can leverage. And then it gives me a reason to leverage capital, because I hadn't leveraged capital, but I'm positioned to leverage capital. I just didn't want to leverage it until I felt like I knew exactly what I should be doing. And I really like this idea. Um, because it's one that's personal to me because I'm in that space. Um, and it still aligns with the values and the skill set that I've built over the last 15 years as an educator. And I will also say that there's a huge opportunity even in the homeschooling market, because homeschooling is growing and we don't necessarily have guidance counselors, so to speak. There are people who do support in that space, but I think that would be still a space that I could still serve, even because that's who I'm serving right now predominantly. So I like that. I like that.
Let me ask you. You said you were thinking about the people that you know. For what part of it were you talking about? You said you were thinking about that.
Yeah. So when I think about the scholarships, I immediately first think about, like, who do I know in that college scholarship space? What educators do I like? What college educators do I know? Who do I know in financial aid? Who do I know who can get my families to the money, basically, so that I can get quick wins? Because at the end of the day, yes, I want you to write well, but I want you to write well for a financial return. And so,
Good. Well, you know what? I mean, this is one thing I want to get to you, and I'm not just saying this. You have the right mindset. Most people's mindsets are trash, right? When it comes to growth, because they can't really grow, because they can't really think beyond. Like I literally today, I locked in our last speaker for game plan, and I had like an empty spot, and I kept being like, what is it? And then I locked in one of our mindset coaches, Coach Jamal, because I literally was like, yo, like we got to get these people mind. I always talk TSP is mindset, strategy, execution. That's what like we teach and we build the programs around. And I'm like, if the mindset ain't right, none of the strategy matters. But the mindset is right, because I just was having this conversation at the intensive I did yesterday at the office. Most people stop a level too short. And what I mean, Lisa, and everybody listening, right, is this. Most people are so fixated on the fact that I want to sell parents scholarship training. And what I'm trying to tell them is that parents don't want scholarship training. What they want is to send their kids to school for free. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, like, we so fixated, like the training is just the vehicle to get to the end result. Sometimes we so fixated on the vehicle, we don't know what to sell. So when we get to it, like, that's how we get people to convert. That's how we get them excited. That's why we get them pulling out the credit card, because we're not focused on what the vehicle is, because people don't care about what the vehicle is. We care about it because it's the thing that we do. But people don't care about what the vehicle is. All they care about is what's the end result. And you already are going deep enough to the end result where you say, hey, I want the wins because I want these scholarships for them. Where most people spend most of their time talking about how the kid got to be able to do this and need to be able to do that and do that. Like, for what? I mean, you think, like, technically They should know how to do it, but most parents, they won't bring them to you because they should know how to write that specific style. They bring them to you because they need to write that specific style to get a scholarship. So you think in the right way, like keep thinking like that and just expand it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people ain't pointing in the right direction. You point in the right direction. So now it's just like, hey, you know what? Again, like, all right, we moving in the right direction. Just what does it look like? Like I said, instead of 200,000, what does it look like for us to get to 2 million? For us to get to 2 million, let's do the math on this. So let's say if we did the scholarship program, how much do you have an idea how much we could charge for that?
I that's an area where I struggle a bit. So I don't know, I would love to lean on the community for their thoughts around that. If it's
what's your
tiers.
first like gut instinct?
My gut instinct is about $7,500 for a 10-week program. That's my gut instinct.
All right. So if we said, and I'll just use that for now, for just keep the math easy. So if we say, hey, you know what? Let's be concerned. Let's say, hey, you know what? Instead of 100,000, we want to get to a million, right? We're not going to do 2 million. Say it's a million. Like so, instead of 200,000, let's see what it take to get to a million. So to get to a million, we would need. Oh, whoops! I did the wrong thing. We're gonna do a million divided by 7,500. So that is basically 134 clients, is what we would need, right? And then if we take 134 and we divide it by 12. No, we got 8-week curriculums, right? So let me see. Basically, it'd be 12 a month that we would need, right? 12 a month would get us 11 or 12 a month would get us what we need for the year. But then we also could say if we doing 2 months, we could say, hey, if we did like a cohort just started like every 2 months, basically we need right over 22 people. So we say like, hey, it's going to be 23 people that we run every 2 months. Now, if everybody think about it, this is why I like everybody like break down the actual numbers. If we think about it, y'all tell me in the chat, does 23 people sound like a lot of people? Just like don't overthink it. Does 23 people sound like a lot of people? Somebody let me know in the chat, right?
No.
Most people saying, nah, like that ain't a lot. Like a lot of times we think like, hey, if I build $1 million company, I got to have like 1,000 people buying this or 500,000 people buying this or all this. But we like, yo, we just need 22, 23 people a month. Then we get into it, right? Then we say, all right, and we know them numbers, right? We say, hey, you know, you want to get to 2 million. To get to 2 million, all you have to do is launch a program every month and just have 2 cohorts running consistently. Because if you had 23 start in January and they go through their first 4 weeks and then 23 start in February, then boom, we got a $2 million business just like that by going 23 a month. And then we say, hey, you know what? We start with the end in mind. End in mind is, hey, how can we get 23 kids a month, right? In that thing, 23 kids a month, and get to $2 million. For some reason, if we can't fill it up, we only do half of it, we still got a 7-figure business. You with me?
Yes.
So then if we want to back it up, then I say, all right, then all of my efforts just go to how do I get 23 kids a month at $7,500 each? Now, one of the first things I would do, $7,500 ain't even really $7,500. Because if I go to, let me see something, let me work out something real quick. So cool, so let's say we did like 7,500. So for 7,500, for example, one of the things we would do is we have payment options. Or we could either break it down into payments. I would like to break down the payments yourself because it still be big payments because it's spread over 8 weeks. But you do something like it's either third-party financing arms that can help you, right? People do third-party financing where they'll take the risk and basically you just give them a percentage for it. So they'll say, hey, you know what? Your people will go through them. They'll basically finance the people for you, and they might charge you like 5, 6, 7%, but you get your money up front. And then if the people don't pay, they deal with the people on the back end. Because whenever you start doing payment plans, you break down payments, you automatically start chasing money. Because some of the people ain't gonna fill all the payments. So it's like it's a thing, right? Like we got a person in our company that's accounts receivable, like her whole job is around chasing money to get our money in, and getting your money in is important for cash flow. But you could do something like a third-party financer, or you could do something like an Afterpay or Klarna, which is a buy now, pay later. With Klarna, for example, or something wasn't a buy now pay later, you was able to break it down into 24 months, right? Instead of 8 weeks, then they can break it down to 24 months. Then they could pay something like $375 a month, and you could probably get it broken down to 3 years. If you did 36 months, it'll probably be something closer to 278. So now they're in your program basically for 300 a month, right? Which is a much easier sell because it's like, hey, if you're ready and you got the whole thing, they can pay the 7,500. If they need to break it down, they can break it down. But now you got affordable access, so that just made it a lot easier for a whole lot of people to pay and for us to reach out 22, 23 people a month. Then we just say, hey, you know what? Again, like what's the process, the marketing lever I'm gonna pull to get 23 people in a month, right? And it could be multiple things, and we had to go a little bit deeper, but I could run, for example, a webinar. And I could run, paid traffic to a webinar. That means I'm doing a webinar, it's gonna build my list up. I already know that like now only maybe a quarter to a third of people that register are gonna show up. So I gotta get enough people registered, but then boom, a quarter to a third show up. They interested. Basically, when they signed up and showed up, they already raised their hand and say, I'm interested in scholarships. But then you can present what it is and then make an offer to them. It's $7,500 price point. Most likely you're going to have to talk to people. So it probably would be getting them to sign up for an application or something. Going through an application and getting on a phone call so you can try to close them on a phone call. Because of that ticket price, like most time people got questions. Like even if it's just like they just want to hear your voice, they got a question about something, they want to touch base just to make sure they understand everything before you move in. But then that's cool too, because you might want to qualify their kids as well to make sure that you can get the success that you need, because you need the child to make a commitment and you need the parent to make a commitment as well. So that would also give you a chance to do both of those around both sides at the same time. And then the other thing I would do, right? I always talk about traffic. We talk about traffic, talk about building it, borrowing it, buying it. Building it is just organic, growing out, doing your own. We talked about buying it a little bit, which could be, hey, running Facebook ads or something to your program, to webinars, two other pieces. I got a whole nother way you can make money with it too. But then the second part, right, is you can borrow traffic. There are already people that got communities of kids. So let's say you go out and you can partner and do joint ventures with AAU organizations. Let's say you can do joint ventures with Jack and Jill. Let's say you can do joint ventures with like all the people that got the kids of that age that you want. Because the thing about it is, at the price point you got, even once you pay labor costs, I would think it's still like pretty profitable at that price point. And even you sound like it might be some, like we got to do more digging to see like what the value of it is. But with that price point and you got that leeway and you got profit built in, then that means you might be able to do affiliates or commissions. And it's like, hey, for your organization, let's say it's a $7,500 program. And we say, hey, you know what, for your organization, when you send somebody through, what we going to do, because they're a member of your organization, they're a member of Atlanta Youth Incorporated. Whenever somebody comes from Atlanta Youth Incorporated, what we'll do for our $7,500 program is we'll give everybody in your organization a $500 discount. That way they can show as a benefit of membership that, hey, we got great connections. We highly recommend this business. And when you go, you get $500 off just because you're part of Atlanta Youth Unlimited. But at the same time, you could tell the leadership, for every kid you send, we'll also cut you back a $500 referral fee as well. So if you got the profit built in, you could take $1,000 off, because now, like that money that you would keep anyway, you still would have to spend if you went to Facebook or whoever, because you still got customer acquisition costs. So instead of spending $1,000 on Facebook or Instagram, you spend $1,000 in this organization. The people coming through feeling like they got the hookup, so they're excited because they got a discount and they want to hurry up and use urgency to get in, right? The people sending to you like, yo, we're getting $500 per kid. Where the rest of these kids at? And they try to force the kids into your program to make sure it happen, but everybody's eating.
I'm trying to contain my excitement right now, because that was one of the ideas I had, because I have my youngest daughter runs track. And so all the parents, talk about different, there's like, we need to raise money, and B, we need to get these kids writing. So I was like, oh, what if because I'm always at the track field all the time. What if they were able to use it as a fundraiser, but then again, and also your organization gets money. So just you saying that was like, okay, it wasn't just an idea living in my brain that wasn't a viable idea. So I just appreciated, like, okay.
Yeah, and that's what we used to do that. Like, it worked crazy because we used to do that even. Let's say, like, I get excited with higher ticket stuff. We used to do that with lower ticket stuff. Like, we used to do that with our like tickets. We used to do movies, so we used to do that with tickets to our screenings, where we partner with an organization or a group in whatever city we was in, and do the same thing. We say, hey, we got 20%, and we say we can do this one of three ways. Either we can discount your group's tickets 20%, and then you pass it on as a benefit of membership, right? And it's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm part of this because I get all these hookups. Or you can charge them full price and you take 20%, because sometimes they might need money in their budget, like you're talking about with your daughter's program, right? Or we say you can even do both, which is what I'm talking about, where, hey, 20% is 20% to us. So, you know, you can take 10 and they take 10, and then we still paying out 20%, so it don't matter. But again, when you got higher profitability, give you the benefit to play with stuff a lot more. And then my last thing I'd say, right, I'm gonna throw this on as an opportunity too. The other day in the main group, I might have posted Propel or both. We had an intensive called 6 Figure Day, right? Where I teach part of like a 6 Figure Day, a 6 Figure Weekend, and it's by doing these high ticket intensives. And when I first came on, I was like, oh, you know, you might be like a great candidate for like high ticket intensive. But the original concept you're talking about, I was like, yeah, I don't know how great of a fit that is. But when you're talking about scholarships, like that is a high ticket intensive type thing. And when I talk about like a 2-day high ticket intensive, that's you condensing what you teach in 8 weeks in 2 days. If it's possible. Now, I don't know everything you teach in 8 weeks, but like if it's possible, like could we condense that in 2 days so that a parent doesn't have to, like me as a parent, is much easier, right? Instead of me like making sure my kids show up every week for 8 weeks. If you say like, yo, this Saturday and Sunday, like you bring them in, right? It's gonna be 2 full days. We're gonna keep them engaged. You know, we have breakfast for them, we had lunch for them, drop them off, pick them up, right? And at the end of this thing, we're gonna get all the way to it. And at the end of it, they got everything they need. And then maybe just the last part is a once a week touch in where they just submit or something like that. Like that's cool. But if we can get all the way down the line, and when I talk about high ticket intensives, right? Normally I sell them anywhere from, like mine ain't this low, but I tell the clients, depending on what it is, they can sell them for lower is 500. But I normally sell mine, I tell them like 500 to 5,000. Normally mine like kind of in the middle of that. But I got a client I talked to last night that do, she's like a TEDx coach. I think hers like 5,500. I got another one that's like in the LinkedIn space. Hers like 6,000. So you could make a lot of that money that you're talking about in way less time. And that's what I love about high ticket intensives. Like the fulfillment, like we're talking about right now, the fulfillment is better than what you're doing, because what you're doing is like it's taking 2 semesters. Now, if you say like, hey, I get my money in 2 months to the 2 semesters, that's better. What's better than getting your money in 2 months? Getting your money in 2 days. And you say, hey, you know what? I'm accelerating that. I'm getting most of my money in 2 days. And then we just got some follow-up that happens afterwards. But like I've already, you know, boom, I got my money. I paid, you know, they paid. We happy. And then we just doing the follow-up piece around it. And then what that looks like is now we're just saying, hey, you know what? Once a month we got a class. We're trying to get 23 kids into this 2-day class, right? They come into the 2-day class, we give them everything they need. Then, like I said, we got accountability follow-up to make sure they submit. And maybe they even submit their first one while they're there, right? At the very end of the day or something. But then we just got check-ins to make sure they keep submitting. But now we got upfront money.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that upfront money, if we want, like at the end of that course, right, we can always do follow-up, and we can sell like something else on the back end of it. Most time we doing like our high ticket intensives, there's like another offer. And maybe the parents say like, you know what? Well, I don't want to do 8. We can keep doing this 1 a week throughout the whole year. And by the end of the year, we submit 52. That's strong. I feel like if my kids submitted 52 scholarships, we should be bringing something in. And then that also could give you a continuity piece that you talked about too, right? Because like, hey, I get my upfront money, and then it's still a continuity piece between accountability, right? And, you know, just overview and oversight to make sure they get the stuff done, they're doing it correctly throughout the whole year. And then just by bulk volume, right, we put ourselves at better chances of actually getting better returns.
Okay.
Now, so what you think about, let me stop right there, because I've been going for a minute. Like where you at? What's everything you thinking?
You know, I like that idea. I think that's definite, even from a young person standpoint, they probably would like something that is intensive. The engagement would have to be high too, because I think my son and I, we did something like that at Purdue. Similar, not exactly the same thing. It was around helping them apply to Purdue. But I'm all about getting to the win quicker and having something to follow up. So it's very clear, like the $7,500 is very clear for me as a tier. And it sounds like that would be my third tier, like, or yeah, my third tier, not the middle tier.
It'd be
That
your
would
middle tier.
that would be the middle tier.
It'd be your
Okay.
middle tier. Because the top
As
tier
other people is me.
is you.
Okay.
If you want it to be, but the top tier is always you. Because people need to always pay the most to get access to you. The problem that most people on here probably have, most people in the TSP school got, most people in the TSP Facebook group got, is they give everybody access to them at the bottom. And people paying $100 to get access to you. People paying $50 to get access, not to you, but in general.
No,
People...
you're on my toes. You're right.
Like that's the problem. So how can we flip that? So nah, you know what? For $100, you get access to my information. Yeah. To get access to me, it's gonna cost 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, whatever it may be. That's a mindset shift.
Yeah, I just have to figure out the the fulfillment of the 2-day intensive. I really like that.
Could you teach what you teach in 8 weeks and two? Like, I don't know, because I don't know. Like, sometimes when people teach stuff, it's like, hey, I got to teach this, and then you got to go away and do it, and whatever like that. Or could it be done in like a tight time frame like that? And let me tell you why. Like these intensives I teach do so. And I forgot, Dr. Laura is in the chat. Laura Lewis, she was there. She just came to one other day. The reason they work so well, right? Is two. Everybody pay attention. It's two things people are willing to spend additional money, and they're willing to invest in quicker than anything. People want to buy two things: speed and ease. So if I know that, hey, you know what? I can get my kid through this in 2 days instead of 2 months, I'm willing to invest more for it. If I know that, hey, you know what? Especially if we being real, right? Y'all, we can be real. Any parents in here, let's be real. We don't like dropping our kids off, picking them up and all this stuff. Even if it's virtual, right? I gotta be looking in there like, yo, you on the thing you're supposed to be on, right? Like, we doing all this. Anybody ever been there? I can't be the only one, right? Let's say facts, right? I can't be the only one. So it lessens my commitment and their commitment. Because as long as they committed, I got a piece of commitment too. So it actually lessens both of our commitments all together. So we can get them the results faster, and we make it easier for them to do what they need to do, because it's less time they got to be focused on actually doing it. So for anybody, no matter what you sell, right? If you can sell on speed or ease, right, you can make more money and make more money faster. So Alicia, like, again, it just would be for you. Can you teach what y'all teach in 8 weeks in 2 days? And then even if you're like, hey, it's like a few things I can't, this is what I want you to think about. I had a client, we were having this conversation, and how we got around it is some of it just became pre-work. Because it's like, hey, it's like a few things I need them to do. Well, guess what? We just issued that as pre-work, so they do it before they come. And then when they come, we can, boom, get straight to it and get done with everything in that 2-day span.
Yeah, I would definitely say the pre-work would be, and then I would have to make them turn in a few things. I have to make sure their writing level is up to speed for sure to get the results. So no, that sounds really good. I have a lot to.
And then even with the pre-work, right? The pre-work could be a Zoom. The pre-work could be like, hey, take this course before you come and do these things, right? And it could be like combination, like, hey, take this course and do these things. Write your piece and submit it, and we're gonna give you feedback. Or it could be take this course, do these things, and then we got office hours. And I got one of my tutors to be on office hours. So if you come in and got a question, they there to answer your questions, right? Between this time and that time. So if we get creative around it, if we really look at like what the curriculum for that, 8 weeks is, we probably can say, okay, how can we pare that down into a smaller 2-day thing, right? We sell it in an intensive package. Then at the back of that intensive, right, we sell them into some type of ongoing continuity where they submitting all the scholarships and things on the back end. And I like the idea of, like I said, we can stretch it out longer than 8. Because the 8 scholarships was predicated on the 8 weeks, I'm assuming.
Right.
So, like I said, it can be a continuity thing where we like, hey, you know what? We got a 6-month or we got a 12-month. And if I got the money, I'm probably going to say, let's just do the 12, because I know it's going to get me more stuff submitted. And I know the more we submit, the more money we're going to get.
So numbers numbers game for sure. And then you get better at it too. So the more
I
you
love
submit
that, and that's
scholarships,
and
you
that's
get
how
better
you
at it.
explain it. How you sell and explain is, hey, you know what? And I recommend you do 12 because you get better at it, right? The scholarships you submit for and the way you submit in month 10 is not the same as what you were doing in month 8, right? Month 8 looks way better than month 6. Month 6 look way better than month 4. So the more you do it, the more you build that muscle, the better you get, the more chance you have to bring in more scholarship dollars. And of course, the more scholarship dollars you bring, the less money you pay.
And this part is recorded, so I can say it just like that and package that in my copy. So
I
I'm
got
just
you.
trying to make sure I understand. So if I'm doing this in a 2-day way, I'm not changing the price. The price is still the same. It's just fulfilled in a different
Yeah, it just would. So you'd have the choice, right? Because for one, the content is the content.
right.
So if it's worth 7,500, worth 7,500. How you, and this is a nugget for everybody. How you shape it don't really change. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if I'm gonna teach you, and it's man hours, right? It's like literally, it's not you taking it from there to a course. It's like still somebody teaching it, doing it over that course of time. If anything, we got an argument. You could probably potentially even raise the price, but I say like, what's the goal? If the goal is to get people in, move them in, and then move them to a back end offer, right? Which could be
Mm-hmm.
like the continuity piece of just submission. Which, like I say, I like that piece is like a back end because that's sexy. To like, because that's where it's at. I like that too. Then you might say, hey, you know what? I just want to make sure I fill the classes up so I can have enough people to move into that back end continuity. Because that piece to me feel like the easiest part. Because that's easy to fulfill, right? I mean, relatively easy, right? Because just kind of making sure they do the thing and you reviewing them, you know.
Right. Yeah. That's because if you give them a framework, and a lot of the essays are similar. If you know who you are and you know what you want to say, you'll have to adjust, but the delivery of making sure you're submitting, that's easy to manage and to support. It's the front end, making sure they have all the words and the language, know what to say, know what to submit, know we would have to, of course, put together the types of scholarships that would fit that student based on what they're looking for and based on what would fit their criteria. So yeah, that part would be easy. So yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the pricing of because I really do like the 2-day intensive idea, because again, the whole like making you get there every week for 8 weeks and all of that.
Yes. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I do like the back end of like you can still get this at the front end, and then I can have something else to sell you into that is longer, because really 8 weeks is kind of short. um and you're not
Yeah,
going to get
they just
as much.
and they
Go
just have
ahead.
more chances for success
Yeah,
because they taking
yeah,
more shots.
right.
So I mean, like I said, I really like the idea of like, hey, they do this, and then like I said, they either like I said, you do a 6 month, a 12 month. Because I don't know the average age of kids. Like they older kids and they getting close to the window, they might not need a year, right? But it could be like a 6 month package or a 12 month package. It can be incentive for them to do 12. But I really like the idea of that because like, hey, now like I said, they getting the shots in, we submitting and doing all the stuff, so that we can make it happen and we give ourselves more chance for success. Anytime like ain't no magic bullet, ain't no secret trick. It's like they gonna have to go in and do the stuff, and that last accountability piece is how they make sure they do it. So let me ask you this, right? And I close. Let's wrap. Kind of like pull it together.
Yeah.
So for this piece, you still would you still had to make a curriculum for it, right? Or you already got something for this?
Yeah, I would need to make a curriculum. I also have in my mind like interviews with different admissions officers from different schools. So that's like in a vault of
Perfect.
things that they can have access to. So my brain is like, what's in the vault that they have access to that will help them with all the things that they're doing. So yes, there's still a curriculum that needs to be built
Okay.
or bought. If we're looking at two or
So
three.
I'm gonna give you these steps at a high level, right? Number one is get the curriculum done. And again, I gave you like 3 different ways to do it, but the main thing is like, hey, I want to get it done. I want to get it done fast, because the faster we get it done, the faster we can launch these subsequent parts to kind of keep it moving. Number two, right? Like once, and we ain't got we can do these like at the same time. It don't mean like Depending, especially if you got somebody else working on getting the curriculum done, that frees you up to start working on step two, where step two is we need to develop like what the actual path and value ladder is, right? So we get clarity around, and you're on Propel, so we got the group coaching calls, and I'll be in there more and stuff like that. Now that we're over on school, I can engage y'all a little bit more. So we can hash it out, but we want to develop like what is the actual path. So is the path like high ticket intensive? We're doing high ticket intensive. We're gonna move them on the back end to the continuity, accountability piece, where it's like, hey, we got 6 months to 12 months, but we get clarity around all of that. And you even can say, hey, you know what? We're gonna have like the smaller academy, but the main thing is you ain't gotta launch all of them at the same time. And I would tell you not to. Like most people, like I want to do this, this, and this, and they launching all of them, and they ain't got the capacity for none of it. So we just want to launch like the main thing, and that's why I like, hey, just the class, because the class is sexy. Like, yo, 2 days, my kid gonna get all the stuff. Like, yeah, I'm in on that, right? So we get them in for that. We build that up, and then as we build it up, and there's more people getting into it, more success stories, more testimonials, and then also you got people coming into the flow to say, oh, that's good, but I can't afford it. Once you get a lot of those people, then we build something beneath it so that we can start downselling to something beneath it. But we won't have to build them at the same time. And I would even say, like, don't stress out over the price. Like, most coaches ain't gonna say this to y'all. In general, when you beginning, as long as you got flexibility, you're not afraid to raise your price, the price don't matter. Because let's say you did that first class, and let's say you just messed up and totally undercharged on it. As long as you don't lose money on it, right? The next class, you just raise the price. And it's much easier to continually raise your price than it is to lower your price. You know what I'm saying? So I hear that like keep kind of coming up like, oh, I don't know the price. Like we can look in the marketplace, we can do research, we can see what other people charging. So we can go into it with like a good idea, but I never really let what the price is gonna be stress me out. I'm just looking in the marketplace. I'm feeling what my gut tell me. If you got clients and people, right, that have done it or done something similar, I'm kind of checking with them, and I create a price, and then it doesn't bother me because I know I got the flexibility to take it up, take it down. It don't matter. It only really bother people when they afraid to do something with it. But I just know that, hey, whatever I roll it out with in the beginning is a test. The first time I do it, I make the curriculum. The first time I teach it, that's a test. Because there might be something missing in the curriculum. Like the curriculum ain't real until somebody go through it, right? And get success. So it might be something missing. It might be like, like whenever I teach something for the first time, a lot of time my timing is off on it. You know what I mean? So I'm like, because like it looked one way on paper, but when I'm in there, people start asking questions. Then, this is long or this is short or whatever like that. So like everything we talking about until we implement and execute is going to be a test. So like, just don't get wrapped up too much on the price. Like I said, we'll do some research. We can look around. We can figure out what a good launch price is. One that we're not going to lose money with. It's profitable and it go. And it got to be something that's still like we can easily move. People get excited at that price and move. It ain't too much friction around it. And then we can get them into it, but it's not a big deal. And then like I said, once we develop what the offer is, the value ladder around it, and we got the curriculum, we turn on the marketing. Then once we turn on the marketing and start filling it up, then we start staffing it so that you don't have to do all the stuff. It's other people that can be training or facilitating those actual trainings for you. And the goal, I want you to write this down if you didn't already. At that price you gave me, that's just 23 people a month. 23 people a month, every month, right? At that $7,500, that's $2 million business. 23 people a month, every other month, at that $7,500 is a $1 million business. Let me fill out again. That's it's $1,035,000. I was gonna say that feel like easy money to me. I'm gonna tell for everybody on here, making $1 million is way easier than y'all actually think it is. And I know it sounds crazy. Lane looking at me like, Lamar, you a lie. Lane, don't look at me like that. I can see your screen is little, but I can see the way your head tilted. It's way easier than y'all think it is if you do the math, if you structure your company and your offers right, and if you selling the right level of stuff. And this is my lag. Can I give you one more example, Alicia? This is how we do it, right? This is how we talk about like a low risk model, right? A low risk model. So it's not a whole lot of risk in what we're talking about. Because the beauty of it is, in this $7,500 program, we say, well, somebody can say, well, Lamar, this sounds like easier than it is to get people in for $7,500. Let's say, so let's say we want to get 23 people in a month. We want to go after 2 million. Let's say we want to go after 2 million this year, 2025. We like, hey, we're gonna get the curriculum created soon, one way or the other. We're gonna get the shortcut to it. We want to get 7,500 people in. If we at least could say, Lamar, you know, for me to get not $7,500, $7,500, not 7,500 people. At least could say, Lamar, well, you know what? Like me getting that 23 a month is going to be tough because it's just going to be like, yo, it's like still like a lot of work out back end work. So I could say, hey, you know what? Well, let's get you a team to help you with it, right? If we just allocate one of those people, just one person per class to Alicia's team, right? That's $7,500 a month she got to dedicate to contractors, VAs, whatever like that to help her process it. You can get a nice team for $7,500 a month. Am I right? Am I right? In the chat, y'all let me know. If I got $7,500 to allocate to a team, like now I got somebody that can follow up, do the pre-work, and make sure they straight. I got somebody that can do the back end and make sure they submitting. And Lisa, all she doing is making sure everything is running the way it's supposed to run, and that leads are coming in. But now she got $7,500 per team. So now she said, well, Lamar, how am I gonna get 23 people in? Because I got the team on the back end that'll fulfill them, but how am I gonna fill the thing up? Well, let's say we take 2 of them seats, right? Let's take 2 of the seats and let's use money from 2 of the seats, right? $7,500 each. So that's gonna be $15K. Now we got a $15K ad budget every month. So now we create a $15,000 ad budget that we can run to try to get 23 people in. That means if I have 23 people, we can basically spend $652 to acquire a customer. Now, we didn't spend the seats of 2 people for ads. We didn't spend the seats of 1 person for team. So now we down to 20 people, right? Oh, and let's say, would this be in person or virtual?
In person, I would say in person.
So let's say in person, right? So let's say, and this is not what it would cost, because I can do a 2-day intensive for $5,000, less than $5,000 or less anywhere in the country. But let's say, at least she's doing it, she's treating the kids good, treating the parents good, blah this. Let's say she spends $7,500 per event, which again, I'm telling you, you ain't got to spend that much. But let's say it was all the way full, so you're just feeling generous, right? Because when I do these, in the class, as Dr. Laura, I tell you how to do them on a budget. We can do them. I can make a great experience on a budget. I'm bougie and cheap at the same time. So we're going to allocate 1 more seat. When I say seat, right, it's $7,500 each, just to the experience, for the rental, for the place, for AV, for if you want to get the kids some notebooks, knickknacks, snacks, keep them alert and awake, right? Like whatever we do, it's going to be a good lunch, a fun lunch, all that little stuff they be seeing on TikTok for they going to want to eat and all that type of stuff, right? So that's $7,500. So now we're down to 19 people. The other 19 people are going to be profit. We allocated 4 to people, right? 1 for team, 1 for the cost of actually doing it, and 2 of them, right, for ads. Now we got 19 people left at $7,500, and she can fill a class up. I'd do that again. That's $142,000. That'd be $142,500 per class. Would anybody out there like to do a 2-day class and pull $142,500 out of it after expenses? Now, we pull $142,500 after expenses. That's before we made the back end offer. Because we still ain't sold the ongoing continuity, right, which is the accountability piece. So we still gonna make a bunch of the money we spent right back, because now we got them paying every single month to check in for the other piece, to make sure the kids are submitting, and they submitting every month for either 6 months or a year and going through. Or I'm like I said, maybe they need 6 months or a year. I would like 6 months or a year to lock them in, but even if it's not that, it could be a continuity thing where you're just checking every month. But I'd rather do 6 months or a year so they automatically just locked in for that period of time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you get to the money. And it's not like an overly complicated plan. Would you agree, Alicia? Like, it's pretty...
That's pretty straightforward.
Straightforward. But again, here's the thing, right? Like, y'all, if, let's say, if we don't do that, right? Because we spent 4 people to do the event. So that was $30K. That was $30K per event, which we wouldn't have to do. Actually, I'll do this like on way cheaper, right? But let's say just because we was filling it up, right? Let's say it's 30K. But let's say we didn't get 23 people in. Let's say we only got 10 people in. If we got 10 people in, that's 75,000. Let's say we still had the team, we still had an expensive venue and stuff, and we still spent 30K on ads. That 30K, we still be left with 45K. For Lisa now, she's still doing 45K a month. That's what she did 2 years ago in a year. That's how you collapse and condense what you did into a year into boom, now you're doing that in a weekend. And then now you do that weekend every month. And that's just doing that weekend every month, y'all. Again, I'm still being conservative because you can take that and do it twice a month. Alicia could take that and say, hey, you know what? What state you live in, Alicia?
Ohio.
Ohio. She can say, hey, you know what? I'm doing Ohio in the beginning of the month. End of the month, I'm going to Houston. And then, you know, every month she bounce around to a different region because kids in Houston need scholarships too. Kids in Atlanta need scholarships too. So we still just tapping, you know, the beginning of it and the top of it type of thing. She can say, hey, you know what? I do one in person in Ohio, and then I do one virtual. When I do mine, I've been doing them hybrid. So it's like people in the room and people on virtual. Because a lot of people's like, they just can't come for the 2 days. But like, yo, they like, I get online and do it. And we just keep them locked in. So a lot of, you know, I'm showing you a lot of possibility, a lot of stuff you could do. The main thing is don't get bogged down. Number one, right, get on the curriculum, get the curriculum done. Number two, right, then we develop like exactly, I done gave you most of the flow of how it is. We can, you know, design up like this, just get really clear on like, hey, this is the flow and how we're going to do it and what the plan is. Number three, then we turn on the marketing, right, to start filling up the classes and getting people in. And then number four, we staff it up. Like I said, originally you could start it to do it to get the lay of the land, but then we want to grow, so we want to get you out of that seat and out of the way, so that you're just the one attracting people in, and then you got other people actually facilitating and operating the actual trainings and making it happen.
I love it.
Because if you got, y'all, it's like so many options, but all those options are the same thing. Because if you got it going in Ohio, if you got team, there's no reason why you can't have a team member in North Carolina doing it, a team member in Phoenix doing it, a team member, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're using your framework. And you getting paid, you paying them. So, all right, so let's wrap here. Final, I got on here like, yeah, I'll be on here. I'll be off by 9. It don't never work that way. I think it's only one person. It's gonna be easy. I'll be off by 9. So tell me, like, where you at right now mentally? What are you thinking? Like, what's your thoughts?
Taking it all in. I'm thinking this feels simpler than what I'm doing now. More doable, a little scary because it's definitely a higher price point than what I'm used to. But there's a path to it. It's about strategy. So and it also has it delivers high value. So I'm nervous and excited, which I think that's just what it's like when you're creating something. And I think what I'm really excited about is being able to, I'm just thinking of people, right? There are people that are popping up in my head, like, oh, that person and that person and that person, in terms of building out team, and then just even like leveraging my universities close by, because there's a lot of curriculum and instruction people at my universities where I can be like, here's my framework. Who can I pay to build it out fully? Like you said, to get it to market as quickly as possible. So yeah, I think the piece for me I'm trying to figure out, or that I'll need to kind of spend some time on, is the fulfillment after, and what that looks like price point wise. So if the event itself is $75, what does that $6,000 fulfillment look like? Or 6 month or 12 month check-in, making sure that you are submitting to your scholarships to get the
and the main thing is, and this is for everybody because this is where people get stuck. The main thing is, don't let that stop you.
Right.
You just keep moving, which I got faith in you, right? I like your energy. I like everything you've been saying. Cause sound like I said, you got the right mindset, was the main thing. But most people get stuck and they never launch. They're like, I'm not sure what the price is on the back end. So we like, well, just sell the front end. Or we get to the back end, we think about it, like they just not doing the pieces because like fear cripples them. But like that's it. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
again, like this is a model where it's low risk. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, yeah, if I don't do this, like all this stuff fall down and don't happen. It's like, hey, you know what? We's getting the model in. Um, we educating people, teaching them. Um, Now you're helping kids, you blessing the kids. You're helping educators, and you blessing them because you're hiring people and giving people opportunity to do what they love and get paid well for it. It's just a ton of opportunity all the way around.
I'm really excited about. I have a track meet to go to this weekend, so I was like, oh, I could even talk about this to coaches out there right now. But I'm excited about the money for the kids because I've tasted a little bit of that. I taught a public speaking course this past semester,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my kids placed first in the competition. He got more money than I charged for the class. His mom got money and he got money. So I was just like, ooh, I like how that feels when other people win. And so I'm excited about that. Like I'm excited about that piece happening because that's a confidence. Like I don't have to tell that kid anything else. Now he's like, I'm submitting to this and I'm submitting to this. I was like, yeah, get paid to write. Don't just turn your papers into me. Get paid to speak. There's money out there. So I like that part. I like when kids are like, okay, I can do this. I wasn't sure, but when they get confidence in themselves. So I think for me, I'm really excited. And I'm gonna do it scared. I saw somebody say, do it scared. I'm like, yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Just do it. Just do
So
it. And we're
I'm really
prepared.
excited about it.
And like I said, we're prepared so we can help you throughout the process. Keep checking it in the school group. Drop comments. We'll rally around you. We got the coaching calls. So Coach Alex will be in there. Coach Alex is my right hand in the program a lot of times and stuff like that. So she do the Q&A calls in there, so you can jump in. Coach Alex is excellent. So like we got everything you need to help you support and get this thing launched. And then we're gonna get it launched. You're gonna break through it. Then when you break through it, I need you to come into the mastermind so we can work with all the rest of the coaches and stuff. Then we get to 7 figures, and then you come to the collaborative. Because then what happens is 6 to 7, anybody don't know, like getting to 6 figures is a lot of what we talked about tonight, right? It's figuring out product market fit. What do I sell? Who do I sell it to? How do I sell it? That's like the base of what we talked about tonight. Now the thing is we got to do the action. I love one thing you said in the mastermind, right, is we can't coach ideas, we can only coach execution. So tonight we came up with ideas, but now we need the actual execution to see what work, what don't work, because everybody's business in market's a little bit different. Like I said, I don't get really fixated on the price because I'm like, once we move and we're going to figure out what the price is. We can make the perfect price on paper. That don't mean nothing until somebody swiped the credit card. So we can figure that part out while we moving. But then as you get around 6, then you're like, all right, I know what I sell, who I sell it to, how I sell it. But now I need more of it. So now we need more traffic sources. Now we dial in on the ads. Now we dial in the, hey, we sending people straight to the intensive. Are they going to a webinar first, a challenge first? Like how are we getting people in? What's the mechanism that we can convert them? And we need more people and more conversions. And then once we get closer to 7 is all about everybody coming to game plan, right? I'm teaching like our lever-driven growth system. So the top part of that are the leadership levers, and that's for like the 7-figure up companies. And then the leadership levers, a lot of that are now you building team. Because when you get around them high 6 figures, then you got to start expanding beyond yourself. And not just with the tutors, but now you need more administrative staff. And one of the most important things you need when you get around 7, you need more leaders. Because if you got everybody on the team as a technician and they execute and you're leading them all, that means people asking you questions every single day because you're their leader. So once you get around 7, then we start putting in a layer of leadership around you so that, hey, guess what? They ask those people, and also the people that's between you and them, they don't have to ask you everything because they got leadership mentality. So they implement things. They have run programs, right? They have maybe run their own businesses. Like they got their own ideas and execution. So they help you make the business easier to actually operate as you're going. And then we're going to be here with you right every step of the way.
Thank you so much. I gotta give a shout out to Candace and everybody in Propel, all of the people who have come to the meetings. I have really appreciated you all's encouragement, and I am so grateful for thank you for, I know this was an idea at some point in your mind and
Yes.
you executed, and thank you for creating this space for us. And so I just want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody who's here. And I've just, it's the best decision I made in 2024 to join. I had been trying for a very long time to figure out what I needed to spend my money on, and I knew I needed to find a place to help me figure out what I didn't know, and I needed community. And so thank you for executing and not whatever you had to go through to make this space happen. So thank you, and thank you to all the people, and Candace in particular, who has been super amazing.
Yes, yes, yes.